Hello traders, this is Nick Shaheen looking at Canopy Growth, CGC, pot company, cannabis company. I can't remember when was the last time I did the video on it, but anyway. Oh, before I forget, at the end there'll be a little pop-up saying subscribe to this channel on YouTube. It's free. Go ahead and do it. I post videos all the time. And if you have a ticker you want me to look at, message me. You know where to reach me. You can post it in the message on the video. So here is the daily chart on CGC. Today's Friday. What is today? The 16th August. What a day! What a week! What a year! So much going on all over the world. Bonds and all of that. Even after hours today, bonds collapsed. What collapsed? Fell hard on some headline. Anyway, so here we are. CGC is in a world of hurt. I do have friends who traded. I haven't traded it in a long time. I was lucky. I traded a couple of times. I lost one time and more than made up for it on some other occasions. So the idea was for me to sell puts or put spreads in it and let time pass. But now, it's fallen so far off its highs, but I think it's industry-wide. So let's look at it. The daily chart told us that there was a squeeze somewhere around here and that something was going to happen. So for that, I drew the blue lines before this happened, and I said, okay, there'll be a breakout or a breakdown. I didn't have a target. I just knew that it was going to move. So where it stopped right here makes sense, because if I look left, that was the bounce from the Christmas crash. This Christmas crash was because the whole market was falling on extremely negative sentiment. This week, we had negative sentiment. Wasn't as extreme as last year, but also unlucky that CGC had to report in such an environment. So when people were talking of crashes, you report, so then the traders will be very nitpicky on what they see. And I don't think the news was good. I don't know what they said. I really don't. And this is just to help from a price perspective. All right, so first, before I say price perspective, generally speaking, I'm not an expert in the pot stocks, and I don't think anybody is. So what I can tell you from an investment on Wall Street perspective, because it's not even legal in the U.S. Yeah, it's not even legal for them to do business in the U.S. the way they do it. It's legal in some states, but anyway. So it's federally illegal to do business with them. So I know there are people who say, no, what are you saying? You can do it through this or through that. It's not straightforward. That's the bottom line, which is the good thing, because if the legislation is coming next year, that's an instant bump in everybody's stocks. So is it time, if I own the shares, is it time to get out? The fundamental thesis behind pot or cannabis is huge, because and very diverse, because it could be edibles, drinkables, potables, drinkables, creams, let's see, the medicine, all kinds of medical companies are looking into it. CBD this, CBD that. Some is regulated, others is not, or not. So it's got so many ways it could be prolific. And all the drinking companies like Coke and Pepsi, would they jump on board right away as soon as it becomes legal in the U.S.? I bet you they would, to look into, because talks were, okay, it's easier to drink pot than smoke cigarettes or get drunk with beer because you don't have the after effects or healthier or whatever. I'm not here to judge. I have no idea. I don't do either. So I can see the bullish thesis is vague, which makes it hard to kill as an entire thesis. So, which brings us to the chart. And that's what we're talking about here. So this is an extreme test. So if I'm holding the shares and it's falling into it, I have to assume that this is support, because this was an extreme test under extreme circumstances over the market and over the stock itself. So this is not the place to bail out or start buying puts. Because if I bought puts that day, yesterday, I would be paying so much for it, because the day was bad, so the VIX was really, really high, and then the VIX for CGC was really high because it was falling out of bed. So the puts in CGC were already inflated, and then you add to it the VIX being so high, then I'm really paying up. And the break-even point, the effectiveness of me protecting and on a day like that by buying puts is not there. It's not effective, in my opinion. So wasn't the day to bail out. And so today it's up on Friday, the day after, it's up to 2.5%. It's a measly bounce, but we'll talk about specific levels in there. So what about, what other than this level do I have? I don't know. So I have to expand time frames. Boom. Now we have information. So this was about 5 years worth of action. And more importantly, let's focus on the last couple of years. So this is the chart as we're looking at it. This is the same blue line and the same low in December of 2019. So now we have clarity. All right, so let's mark it up. So now we can talk big picture stock chart. And this could apply to any widget company. It doesn't have to be this one. So now we have a test ongoing. This is a weekly candle. This was a weekly candle and it was like a bottom, right? So if I look left, look at this. How organized are these markets, right? So I'm going to put an S here and an S here. And it's the same line. And if I extend the line left, all right, so I'm going to put an R here. So they were rallying, they hit it, they resisted. I bet you they had a few fails inside the week, and then boom. They pivoted around it a couple of times, and they finally took it out, and then support, right? So you can extend that R all throughout to here. And right here, they broke out. That was the, oh my gosh, I got to buy pot stocks. This is when I went to the gym and somebody said, hey, which pot stock should I company should I buy? These are people that never talk stocks, ever. And when they do that, they did that with Bitcoin. Somebody handed me $200. Go buy me Ripple. That after the Bitcoin craze. I was like, okay. I lied to them and I said the transaction didn't go through, and I gave them back their money. That's usually a mania top, not a top for the stock. It's just a mania top. Okay, so this broke out, fell really fast into exactly the same line. Look at this. I mean, it doesn't get nearer than this. And then boom, sharp bounce to the top, and then faded into now. So let's review. Resistance broke out from, let's call it X. We're going to call this line X. Crazy up, down to X. Crazy up, now back down to X. So now is it support with a question mark? If I'm holding the shares and I haven't bailed on them yet throughout this whole thing, selling them here makes no sense to me. Onus is on the bears of this stock to break below X. That's my take. That doesn't mean it can't go below it. It means that I wouldn't sell until the bears say, you know what, this is not, X, forget about X. We're taking it back to, open. It's on them to be able to prove it. Step one is breakthrough X. Okay, so I'm going to delete that and go back to a daily. I wonder if I can do that. Let's see here. Okay, perfect. So this is back to the daily, and now what? What do I do on Monday? So this is where the fast traders. So now the daily left a big gap. What does that mean? They had no chance to trade this zone. Markets Wall Street doesn't like to leave that open. They like to trade everything and in a neat fashion. So if you look at the volume profile, it should look like a nice swoon, nothing jagged. They go back and, quote, clean it up. I learned that from a friend. So gaps like to be filled. So I'm going to close in on a 2-hour candle. So now we're talking intraday. They reported, they fell, and then today they went up. So now we get a little more clarity. And this is for the fast traders. Now, the slow traders, the decision has been made. So if I ever wanted to go long CGC, and I was hoping for a nice place to see if it has some legs higher, this would be a good time. But this is a gamble. The whole industry is a gamble. The whole industry is a gamble legally, and the whole industry is a gamble as a concept. And the stock is falling, and I'm catching a falling knife. So it's a speculative bet. Speculative bet for everybody. This means that it's got low odds and high risk. So it's not for the faint of heart. I can't do it in size and say I am emphatic. It's going to happen. Like if Apple falls off a cliff, then I can be emphatic and say this is a fundamental trade. I have conviction in it. In this case, I don't have conviction in it. And if I do, I better put a quick stop below it. So if I'm wrong and it hits X, a certain level, not to use X, boom, I'm out. So in this case, I would use these two levels, this one and that one. The very low of the lows, anything below it, why revisit the low unless the whole market is falling? But even then, it just breaks the concept. And the failure points, you can take this one or the high of the candle. There's a candle here that you can't see. So let's move this one. See it right there? Okay, so one of the two areas will be triggers. In fact, if you want to be more surgical about it, this would be the first. So I'm God, my eyes. 28.55 is one place. Let's call it 29 is another one. 28.95, and whatever the top of that candle. So 29.50, and then the gap will come into play. So what if I get long and price spikes to here? I get out. What? Yeah, that would be my place to book. If it's a trade, if it's an investment for the long term, hey, sweet. You know, I'm starting off on a good note. So you have to know why I'm long. If I'm long for a trade, this is where I get out. Because why? Because this is X, or not X. This is a level like X, a ledge. So whoever sold it here hard is going to sell it again. So when they get back to the price, to the previous accident scene, a ledge, whatever you want to call it, it's a point of congestion. It's resistance, natural resistance. They rarely do, meander up to here and slice through it. They hit it, they fall, and they come back and hit it again and hopefully bust through it. Okay, there's another gap up here that I noticed. So I have to decide if it's a long-term investment, and it's not a bad time to do it if I ever thought about it, because of X, the line below, and I'll zoom out to remind us of that. And if I'm looking for a trade, then I don't just jump in. I jump in once they break above this one, and I know when to get out. So I can scalp $3-ish eyeball. Or I can be really conservative and not jump in until this line or that line. All depends on personal preference. What if I jump in and I decide, okay, I want to put a stop below me? So I'll put a mental stop at below 27 or 26.50. It all depends on personal preference. How much pain can I take? So to me, if they set a new low, I start asking, why the hell are you setting a new low? So if I want a little more room, I'll look left and I'll look at these zones here. So 25.90 and whatever the low is here. 25.26. Below that, then they start talking inverse cup and handle, and 18 will come into play. So what if I wanted to go long using something else? I can use options. I can sell puts or put spreads. I don't sell naked puts unless I want to buy the shares. So what if I wanted to wait for a daily breakout? Then I look at this. Lower high trend that I just noted. And so I'll wait for them to break through these failure points and do this. And I bet you it will coincide with something like this one and that one. Okay, so these are two triggers. This is a moving target because price is moving, tick, 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 tick. And the higher low, lower high will probably come to another point in time and see what happens this way or that way. And it's all about time frame. So the point of this video is the chart looks like it's death. So you have to decide, is it a broken stock or a broken company? I don't know the fundamentals. I thought they were well run. What's it called? STZ. Constellation invested $4.5 billion in them in some funky way. They put all that money to work, which I thought was weird how they did it. And why would you blow your entire wad as far as the balance sheet? The balance sheet was the reason why everybody said this is the best company. But stock-wise, other companies are doing better. Like CRON is doing better. Look, it's flat-ish, like not death. And ACV, I think stock, not company, was doing better. But anyway, so CGC, even though it had the better balance sheet, or so is perception, the stock is not performing the best. It's definitely better than some other ones in there. Tilray, I think, is the worst. Yeah. Whoa, 300. Can you believe it? That one day with a short squeeze, 300 in hours. I remember that day. I made money on short and long. Got lucky. I wouldn't do it again. So pick your levels. CGC is not dead. There are several trades. You just have to know your reason you're getting in and your time frame. Boy, this is a lot longer than I wanted, but it's as comprehensive as I can make it.